So, whoa, yeah, just right wing radio. They got Glenn Beck on there, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin. Then overnights, it's coast to coast, people. It's right wing Republican radio. It is. That's just what it is. And so over at WOWO, you got Ryan Recker, the news director. And so we're Facebook friends. And so last week is going to be Tuesday, September 20th. Ryan Recker post, directed to Dean Robinson. Hey, good news. This weekend, you can accuse the Fort Wayne police of institutionalized racism in person. You should attend Coffee with a Cop. It's open invite if you really do care beyond posting Facebook links. That's what Ryan Recker telling me. Let me know about this Coffee with a Cop taking place in the parking lot over behind the Carmike Theater over, the rave, Jefferson Point. And so it's going to be Fort Wayne Police and then all these first responders, Wayne TV's out there, some other people, just, it's Coffee with a Cop, and then you can converse with these other first responders. Ryan Recker inviting me out there because this weekend you can accuse the Fort Wayne police of institutionalized racism in person. Ryan Recker making this invitation.
I'm under the impression that you believe that part of the problem is if the dialogue's not started or if the person is not quick to comment or decry something that happened that was wrong, that they are de facto either agreeing with it or part of a cover-up or something like that. Do you believe that?
Well, what makes you think that I believe that? What in my commentary, what have I said in the past that draws you to that conclusion?
Well, on your Facebook page, you post a lot of, why aren't these people talking about this? So you ask the question, why aren't we talking about it? So it leads me to believe you think we're part of the problem for not talking about it.
Well, the reason I asked that question, why isn't Wayne or WOWO talking about it, is really because I would like for you to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're asking me, hey, Dean, why do you ask, why isn't WOWO covering this?
Yeah.
Well,
you ask why I'm not, or talking about it, right?
I do that because these are stories that I find pertinent that I would like to see some broader commentary on locally. And so it's not an indictment. These are some of the issues that I find pertinent, some particular stories I find pertinent. I would like to see either WOWO or Wayne talk about it. And I realize with WOWO and the Pat Miller Show, I don't agree with this guy most of the time, but he will address these issues. And that's what I respect about Pat. Not his opinion, but the fact that this guy will put himself out here and he will discuss these issues. So when I'm asking why isn't WOWO covering this, why isn't Wayne covering this, it's because I would just personally like to see some coverage. But it's not an indictment of anything or anybody, and I can't force you to do something that you don't want to do.
The way the atmosphere is in America today, do you think things have gotten better in the past 50, 60 years, or do you think it's the same?
Race relations?
Race relations.
It's way better.
Yeah.
It's so much better. Things are not worse now than they were when I was growing up. When you talk about these atrocities in America, well, dude, I can tell you about them. I can go all through history. There's no better time than now. There isn't. When I was living in the 70s, oh my gosh, white adults and children throwing around the N-word all the time. And in the 70s, when I grew up, well, that would serve as a dividing line for some friends. Now, many friends that I've had since a childhood still have them now. But some of these guys, white guy used to go to his house, used to go to my house, but then at one point he starts hanging out with the Fisher Boys, just the notorious racists in our neighborhood.
Okay.
'Cause I was living on the southwest side of town now, the good side of town, white side of town. Moved from Gay Street to Loudness Drive, in my childhood. So when he starts hanging out with the Fisher Boys, well, then the N-word, I'm just a nigger now. I'm just a nigger to him. And so that's the kind of stuff I grew up with. I remember guys in trucks just passing by. Dude, it was just commonplace in the 70s. Now, not so common. I find that to be an improvement. It's just what you're seeing now, this notion of this police brutality against black people. Dude, do a web search for that phrase. You'll find dudes picketing in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, talking about stop police brutality now. People have been talking about it for decades. It's just now, with this social media, and everybody having a camera on their cell phone, all this HD stuff, all this instantaneous broadcasting, well, now you're getting to see what certain people have been complaining about for decades. You're getting to see it. You're getting a front row seat. And so people that aren't used to this, people who have just said, well, we've heard these black people talking about this stuff, but we're not seeing it. We're going to believe what these cops are saying every time. Well, now that you see the evidence, you're like, wow, this is bracing. These people protesting. Wow. But look at the 60s, man. Look at the documentary about Jackie Robinson. Look at the documentary that PBS did about the Black Panthers. If you look at that stuff, which I know at WOWO you guys aren't, because you're not talking about it. I know what programming you're talking about, 13 hours, a Hollywood movie about Benghazi, American Sniper, a Hollywood movie, but you can't stand Hollywood, except when they're putting out war movies that you like. But you can't stand Hollywood. The other day, talking about you just can't stand Hollywood. You're just loving it. The Emmys ratings are down. But you still got Hollywood out here.
I'm glad you listened, by the way. Thank you for doing that.
I listen to you mugs too much. And then what's funny is like, I got these brothers talking to me out here, and they're like, well, man, why are you promoting WOWO? I'm like, what do you mean promoting? I'm very critical of these guys. Because, Ryan, in Fort Wayne, there's no criticism of local media except for like me and Fort Wayne Media Maven. Other than that, there's no criticism of other media because there's too many partners in news. You know it.
Do you have any criticism of the local police in Fort Wayne?
I told you on September 14th, these mugs in my house pulling a bullet out of my wall because there's some mugs out front of my house. I don't think I'm the target, but out there shooting at people. I mean, these different neighbors and the cops saying, well, they were shooting at this car. But, I got the cops in my house 2:30 in the morning pulling bullets out. We're getting along just fine. I give them my number. We're rapping. I'm telling them what I'm hearing. So I realize with these cops, they're out here. And I've even written a song, Policeman. I'm going to put it on YouTube so you can see it. And it talks about it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. I might beat you down with my black baton, but you're much worse off without me. You're much worse off. Because if we didn't have these police, you have just gangs roaming out here.
So do you feel they're a necessary evil? Is that what you would say?
I wouldn't call them evil.
Okay.
Do you think they're evil?
Of course not.
Well, why would you call them a necessary evil?
Well, the way you described it there, you're saying that, we might come beat you, but we're better off being here than not. Is
that's
what
right.
You the way you just described it. So
I sing that stuff.
You don't think someone beating on another person's wrong? And you think Fort Wayne police do it?
Do they beat people up?
With batons?
Well, I don't know if they have batons anymore, but it's mainly, this guns and taser stuff. But I've not had these guys beat me up. I don't know if they're excessively violent. I don't believe that. I don't think these mugs are evil.
Yeah.
I don't think they're evil. I believe that they are human beings.
Yeah.
And they are capable of the same greatness of any human being.
Yeah.
They are victim to the same demons as any human being. Now, you can have this Mark Rogers in, 2014? This guy convicted of rape. Fort Wayne police officer. He picked up this drunk woman, I guess took her to the hospital to make sure she was drunk. But then he drives around to these different locations, eventually takes her to a park and rapes her. Yeah. Well, he's doing 6 years now. He's doing 6 years.
Yeah, it's
now,
terrible.
that's a Fort Wayne cop. Are all these Fort Wayne PD rapists? Well, that would just be a silly question because they're not.
Yeah.
But there was a rapist among them. Now, when you talk about come out here, Dean, when you say Dean Robinson, you can come out here and accuse these guys personally of institutionalized racism. I have to ask, what do you mean by that?
Well, the question I'm asking when it comes to your claim of institutionalized racism, if they're part of the system, then they're part of the problem. If you say they're under this institutionalized racism. And I don't think the people we're out here talking to today are problems. I don't think
so either. When you talk about institutionalized anything,
they're in a system that has a problem.
So
a problem of racism.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're talking about institutionalized racism in the system. So that really, in many cases, removes personal decision making from this because it's in the system. And so when we talk about women, now you're going to have more male cops than women cops. Now, does that have anything to do with women not having the right to vote until 1920? Does it have anything to do? I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe this institutionalized sexism is why we look at women a certain way, why they don't have certain opportunities. But if you look at some of this Egyptian culture, and like these Amazons, these ladies can fight, they can rule the whole nine. Look at this Bible and Judges. There's some female judges in that mug. These women can get it done, but in our patriarchal society, in this male-dominated society where sexism was legal, well, if women can't get the right to vote till 1920, well, does that have anything to do with now women maybe not having some of the same opportunities that men have? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Now, with this institutionalized stuff, it's like we have to look at it as that's the way it goes. That's the system we've got. We got to work with what we've got.
So you think are there any current policies you think right now enacted that promote institutionalized racism?
Well, like I talked about Wells Fargo, right?
When it comes to coffee with a cop.
Okay.
What you want to talk about local violence on your street today? But yeah. So that's primarily what you want to talk to people about.
I was going to talk to these cops about it, not necessarily you. With you, I wanted to talk about you sending me a Facebook post, inviting me to come out to coffee with a cop to accuse Fort Wayne PD of institutionalized racism. I still haven't gotten to the bottom of why you made such an invitation.
Mostly because I see that you called police in general, right? Police agencies, they're under institutionalized racism. I see that Fort Wayne is a police agency. Mm-hmm. I wanted you to, if you really had concerns about this, address it with them. And that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see you address your concerns with the Fort Wayne police. And from what I understand, though, you might not have those concerns. Your concerns are something different.
Well, if you want me to talk to Chief Reed about institutionalized racism, I'll do that. Did you talk to him yet?
I just shook his hand when I came in. He was talking to someone else, though, so I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet.
So did you talk to any of these police officers?
Yeah, I talked to a couple of them.
Did you talk to anybody about institutionalized racism?
No.
But
I don't agree with it. I don't agree.
But with me, you want me to talk to him about it.
Well, you have a concern about it. I don't.
Well, how do you define institutional or institutionalized racism? How would you define it?
So institutionalized mean it's broad and it's wide, and so it's under the atmosphere. It's under. Do you have some notes?
Go ahead. No, I want to know how would you define institutionalized racism?
Yeah. So when you say institutionalized, it's broad and it's wide through an entire organization, and racism in the sense that institutionalized racism, it encompasses everyone in the policies they work under. I don't agree with that at all.
Okay. Well, that's not a bad definition. I think that's pretty close. Mm-hmm. So I looked it up on Google.
Wrote the definition
Institutional
down.
racism is a pattern of social institutions. It is a pattern of social institutions, government organizations, schools, banks, and courts, giving negative treatment to a group of people based on their race.
Okay.
So institutional racism is a pattern of social institutions giving negative treatment to a group of people based on their race. Now, I'm going to say when you look at history, you will find these patterns of organizations, including government organizations like police departments. You will see a pattern of negative treatment given to a group of people based on their race. Now, if you tell me, well, Dean, there's a cutoff. We can't look 50 years ago. We can't look 90 years ago. We can only look at the past 10 years. Well, if you want me to do that, I can still find these patterns. Now, you want to say, well, Dean, these patterns don't exist, or I don't agree that these patterns exist, except when you're on WOWO, you and Pat, you'll say, well, there are certain cases where there is some racism out here. There are some bad cops, but the majority of them are good. So it's like, well, you are admitting that there may be some problems, but they're so minimal that we don't need to talk about them. But if you're a minority, a minimal problem can be a big problem. And so these patterns, they do exist, whether you agree with them or not.
I believe when there are instances, they are dealt with appropriately and justly. Do you believe they're dealt with appropriately and justly?
Sometimes.
I think they are, though. You don't think
all the time?
I do.
I don't believe all the time now.
No. And why not?
Well, just because I don't believe everything I hear, and sometimes when I look into these cases...
So some things that might not become an accusation, some things might not have become at a level where it was brought up in front of someone.
Well, here's something that Karen Richards recently said to Wayne TV that I found astounding.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't. They just find it a normal statement. So she's talking about some of these homicides in Fort Wayne that don't get solved. Mm-hmm. And so she says that sometimes you have a suspect in a murder. You have a suspect in a murder who then gets killed by somebody else. And so Karen Richards, the prosecutor, considers that a solved crime. Mm-hmm. Now, I find that to be an outrageous statement. I don't find that to be a closed case. Now, again, they might close the case, but I don't think that's a solved crime. She says that's just something that's solved. I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
And so you might have to look up the statement. Look it up on Wayne TV, on their website, talking to Karen Richards. I think
that's fair. I think it's fair to say that what you're saying. I think if a crime's unsolved, it's unsolved, and it sits there. So is she referring to cases where there's just zero evidence, so they have to close it?
Well, she says they have a suspect. They have a suspect in this murder, but then that suspect gets killed. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, that's a solved case.
Yeah, there was that. I forgot what street it was on. Are you talking about where
she was talking in general?
I see. Okay.
She was speaking generally because it's going to be Alyssa Ivinson asking her about, hey, some of these homicides not getting solved. Mm-hmm. My take is going to be, look, these cops out there doing their job, doing their thing, going to be just as perfect, as imperfect as any human being. And so when these mugs out there doing a good job, pulling bullets out of my wall, I'm going to rap to these mugs, thank them. If I see one of these guys in trouble getting beat up by a mob, I would help a cop.
Yeah,
I would. Just by seeing the uniform, I'd help that mug. Mm-hmm. So to think that I got a problem with cops just because I am properly critical, which is what we're supposed to be. And so I just don't believe everything I'm told. Mm-hmm. And so with this Yari Caven shooting in 2010, these guys say this guy had a toy gun. So they went inside his house. But you look at the media reports, these guys give three different reports, three different versions of what happened. Mm-hmm. First, he came to the door with a gun. The final version was, he had a gun in his pocket. They had him up against the wall, telling him to pull the weapon out. But then when he pulls it out, somebody yells gun, so they tase him and shoot him once in the back, killing him. But this Yari Caven, at the time, in the midst of a lawsuit against the city of Chicago and these cops for locking him up for 2 years for no reason. Mm-hmm. So he's suing the cops of Chicago, some $3 million lawsuit. But somehow this guy suing the city of Chicago is going to be in Fort Wayne playing with a toy gun. A toy. Now that makes no sense to me. It's the official story. I still don't believe it. Now, I've done my video about it. I've talked to the police about it. Now, am I going to just keep bringing it up forever? Well, no. Not until there's some change in that particular case. Some more information comes out.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily believe everything I'm told by everybody.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to go talk to some police?
Sure.
Let's do it.
But now, have we settled any matters here? Do you have any more questions about how I feel about stuff? Because it seems like if I talk about the history of the KKK, if I talk about the 1920s, it's too far. But if we talk about women's right to vote, I have to talk about 1920. If we want to talk about drug prohibition, shouldn't we talk about the 1920s and prohibition? So there's going to be so many things that happen now. If you don't look at history, don't you guys talk about how you're doomed to repeat it? But anytime Dean Robinson talks to WOWO about history, he's mired in the past.
No,
Pat Miller's saying that I use history to justify,
I don't think you're mired in the past. I think it's important to look at history. I'm just saying that the comparisons you're making right now and saying that it's a exact parallel to what's going on today, I don't think it's fair.
What do you mean? Okay, so we can compare them, but we can't parallel them. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, you can look at it from a historical aspect.
So what's a parallel?
What do you mean? What's a parallel?
Well, so if I can, so if these,
what do you mean by that?
So if I talk about the police shooting an unarmed black man in 1873, mm-hmm. Well, you realize that is a parallel to any 2016 story about a cop shooting an unarmed black man. There's a parallel there. Now in Indiana, which was founded in 1816, well, by 1818 they had laws in the books banning interracial marriage. So it was a crime to marry outside of your race from 1818 to 1965. I was born in 1966. And so when I look back at history, well, I was born in 66, a year after Indiana said, well, this interracial marriage stuff, you can't make that illegal, even though it's been a crime for most of the life of Indiana. Well, that's 65. I'm born in 66. Well, in 1967, that's when the federal government says, you guys can't do that in any of the states. We're striking all that down. And so when I talk about the 60s, well, you might think I'm living in the past. No, I'm going to try to show you some of the foundation of where we are now, because if we don't look at it, if we stay on this 24-hour news cycle that guys like you love so much, well, we're not going to be able to have a rational conversation.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like we might be at. I just don't agree on your premise that things haven't changed since then.
That's not my premise.
It sounds like that's your premise, though. That's what I'm getting.
So you don't recall me saying that race relations have never been better in the United States of America than right now. Do you remember me saying that?
That's true. I agree with that. It is
okay,
true.
so I said that race relations have never been better than now. So when I say that, you believe that I think there's been no progress whatsoever. Is that what you're saying, Ryan?
No, you didn't say that. You just said it right there. You don't believe. Things are today are better than they ever were.
Right.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that.
But there are parallels to the past. There are parallels to the past. Our past serves as the foundation for what we have now. And so the fact that, hey, maybe there's not as many brothers on Fort Wayne PD as maybe some brothers would like. Well, maybe had some of this racism been eliminated earlier, we'd see more now.
Yeah, well,
maybe if women had been allowed to vote before 1920, maybe there'd be more women involved in everything. But that's the world that we have. No, it's just the world that we have.
Yeah, I feel like you're trying to say that the parallel we have is we don't live in a perfect world. Is that the parallel?
Well, what is perfect? What does perfect even mean? We live on planet Earth, and so my premise in terms of this institutional racism, my premise is race relations in America have never been better than now.
Good.
Racism still exists within these institutions. It does. It exists.
You see, that's where I disagree.
You don't see it. That's okay. My survival.
I just disagree on that.
So you don't think that there's that institutional racism exists?
I don't think that when we look at the Fort Wayne Police Department, for example,
okay.
I don't think they have policies as an organization that encourage racism. I don't. And to bring up the example of certain people, it's a whole different story. I know you might think they're working under the authority of that group, but they're not working under the policies of that group if they're doing things like that. So, no, I don't think there's institutionalized racism in Fort Wayne Police.
Okay. Now, what about with Wells Fargo Bank? Do you think they practiced do you think there was racism in there?
I have no idea. Yeah.
So you haven't even looked into that?
No, I've looked into it. Lending practices are shady to begin with, and when it comes to banks, a lot of shady things go on there too. So I don't know. I have no idea. I would say the likelihood of it happening is probable.
Now, according to PBS in Memphis. Wells Fargo loan originators were calling black people mud people, putting them in ghetto loans because they wanted black people in these subprime loans, even though they qualified for better loans. This stuff has already been determined. This is fact.
Yeah, no.
And so then in Baltimore, they're doing the same thing. This has been systematic racism in Wells Fargo, but you don't know anything about it. So Ryan,
I would say
Ryan Recker, if you don't know about the institutionalized racism that has been openly documented by the media for years at Wells Fargo, if you don't know about it, well, of course you can't see racism in these institutions because it's been published and put out there, but you don't know about it. You just don't know. But with this Wells Fargo stuff, when I talk about institutionalized racism at these banks, it's in there. You can't recognize it because you haven't seen it. Now, we can go talk to these guys, and we can talk about the history of Fort Wayne PD. We can talk about, hey, some people say there should be more black officers. Why are people saying that? Why is that? Now, I don't think with WOWO, I don't think you guys are that serious trying to get to the bottom of these issues. You're not. I don't think you're serious with this race stuff, because every time Pat Miller says Black Lives Matters, him and Sean Hannity, they have to repeat pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon. They're saying that everywhere, but they're not. That's just not true. But that's the narrative that you guys want to paint. Anytime, a black person just protests something like Colin Kaepernick, oh, he's an idiot. He should just shut up and stand. I'm like, wow, these mugs talk about freedom of speech, but then you have this guy, Colin Kaepernick, he's giving a voice to these poor people, these people that don't have a voice, that don't really have representation, but, oh, he should just shut up because he's a millionaire. And so it's any time. If we do something peacefully, shut up. If we do something violent, oh, you guys are violent. But all this violence being laid down on us, well, you guys should be peaceful. Just like when Dylan Roof shot 8 people at a church. Pat Miller's like, oh, it's so great that this church was so forgiving of Dylan Roof. But I don't see this forgiveness for anybody else. And so I don't think you guys are really serious. And when we talk about this institutionalized racism, whether it's true or not, some people might feel there is. You don't feel there is. And that's WOWO's take. There is no racism out here.
No, that's my take.
It's like
that's my take.
You feel like there's just no racism out here.
Wait, here? No, I'm talking about institutionalized racism.
Well, what about at WOWO? How many non-white hosts do you have on WOWO? How many?
I don't think that's a fair question.
Do you have any black talent on WOWO? Is there any black reporters or any black anchors, any black shows, anything on WOWO?
It's not a fair question. What you're
trying
to set up here is this.
I'm asking: Are there any?
If this is what you came out here to ask me, I don't think that's fair. I'll have conversations with you, but what you're trying to accuse me and WOWO of is I don't like what you're trying to do
here. What
here.
accusation? I haven't accused you of anything.
I know, but I understand what you're trying to do,
I'm asking,
and it's not appreciated.
Does WOWO have any black hosts? Does WOWO have any black reporters? Does WOWO have any black writers? Does WOWO have any black producers?
We do, but it's not.
Okay, so you have a black producer.
But what I'm trying to say is
what
this is not what I came here to talk to you about today. No, Dean.
Why?
I appreciate what I'm saying. Hold on.
So you want to talk about? So you want to talk about racism?
Can we talk?
But you don't want to talk about WOWO.
No. Can we take a time out?
Sure.
I don't appreciate what you're trying to move the narrative to right now, and
Why?
That's not what I'm here to talk to you about. You got to imagine I've been pretty fair. We've had a long conversation here.
Yeah.
And
but as soon as I talk about black people working at WOWO, you want to end the conversation.
Well,
why?
You're making the accusations, and I don't appreciate it.
What have I accused you of?
I don't think it's fair. I think I've given you a lot of time.
What have I accused you of?
You haven't. I know what you're trying to do.
What have I accused you of? I haven't
it.
accused you of anything.
Yeah.
I haven't accused you of a thing, Ryan. Now, you know you don't have any black talent on air at WOWO. You know it.
Yeah. Dean, I'm going to have to
what?
Stop the
So now you don't want to talk.
Yeah. Excuse
Why?
me. We're going to end the conversation.
But you want to go talk to you. But you want me to go accuse the police of institutionalized racism. But if I ask you about black talent on WOWO, now you don't want to talk. But you want me to go over there and accuse these guys of being a bunch of racists. Is that what you want me to do? Is that the show you think you're going to get, Ryan?
I'm not asking you for a show. What I'm asking you were for your thoughts and your views on things.
I
wanted to see what your concerns were.
And so my concerns with WOWO, you guys are hard right wing.
Okay.
And I believe that your take on race is clumsy. We've talked about this before. I think it's one-sided. And when you look at the hosts that you have on WOWO from 24 hours a day, mainly white men. Their white viewpoint is usually conservative, is capitalist, Christian. That's just the way it is. I'm not accusing WOWO of anything. I could go to your website and I could show you Charlie Butcher, white guy. Who do we have next? Glenn Beck, white. Rush Limbaugh, white. Pat Miller, white. Sean Hannity, white. Who do you have at night now? Is it Bill Levin or Mark Levin?
Yep.
White. Coast to coast. Who's doing coast to coast? White all night. So WOWO, WOWO, stands for white on white only.
No, it doesn't, actually. That's not what the call letters stand for, and you know that. And this is why I'm saying I don't appreciate what you're trying to do here.
Well, you don't appreciate it because it's true.
No, it's not true. It's
so you
not
do
true
have,
what
so
you're
you
saying.
do have black hosts on WOWO?
What I'm saying is, why would you even, what's the motive for asking us what the call letters WOWO stand for? and to say you have your own understanding of what it stands for.
Now,
so what's the purpose here?
Now we've been talking about all this race stuff.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it. I've been telling you how I feel. You've been telling me how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
You just say there's no racism out here. And it's like, and I respect that. When I ask you about this
on the police, I really don't think there is.
Okay, now, what about it? And when I ask
Wells Fargo, I don't know.
So you don't know now.
So now you've moved on to my organization.
Well, that's
that I work for.
I'm talking right. So we're talking about these institutions, because the topic to me is institutional or institutionalized racism. Now, you want to direct it a little bit more because you want me to accuse the Fort Wayne police of institutional racism.
No, let me ask you.
Which I'm not going to do.
Do you believe there's racism at WOWO?
Do I believe there's racism there?
Yeah.
No, I think there is discriminatory practice at WOWO.
You think there's racism? What discriminatory because we don't have a...
Because you discriminate against liberal viewpoints. You discriminate against Democrat Party viewpoints. You discriminate against anti-Christian viewpoints because you guys are pro-Republican openly. Now, Pat Miller the other day
said... With the host, yes.
Pat Miller the other day said...
The hosts have their opinions, right?
Pat Miller said, I worked for Ted Cruz. I worked for him. He actually said it. I wrote it down because he's talking about, he was a Ted Cruz guy, but he's voting for Trump. Has to. But he said, I worked for Ted Cruz. Now, I'm like, wow. That's pretty odd that you got a guy that says I worked for him. He actually said I tried to get him elected, but we're supposed to rely on WOWO for all this news, but it's mostly opinion, and all this opinion is mostly Republican, right wing, conservative, Christian, capitalist. So I don't see why you think that's insulting.
Well, it's insulting that, and I'm not going to comment further on that.
Why do you think it's insulting?
No, I didn't really come here to start the conversation about the employer, my employer. I don't think it's. I'm sorry, I just can't comment on that right now.
You have commented.
Yeah.
Why stop now? Because Ryan, I keep
it
real.
You think you're keeping it real right now, but
I am keeping it real.
Your opinion on all of this, I think, is misguided.
How?
And I think is
my opinion on what
jaded,
is misguided?
And I think it's wrong.
What is my opinion?
So I disagree with your opinion on all of this. It's your opinion.
On just everything.
Well, when you talk about our host, you're a host. You're someone that has an opinion.
Yes.
You have a commentary.
Yes.
Just like our hosts do. So
yes.
We have our view. You have a view. We don't have to agree on things, but we can talk about it.
That's right. I told you
we don't have to agree on it.
I told you I don't agree with Pat Miller. I led
So
with
what I'm
that.
saying is I don't agree with what you're saying here. I don't.
But that doesn't matter.
I don't think it's right.
So I let out with telling you, look, with Pat, what I respect is that he'll talk about these issues. His opinion on them, no. I don't agree most of the time.
Yeah.
And I don't respect his opinion. I respect that he can have one, and I respect that he's not afraid to talk about this stuff.
Yeah. Well,
now, with you,
yeah.
I find that I get to a certain point. You want me to go accuse these cops of institutionalized racism? I'm not going to.
No, I'm not asking you. I'm asking you to bring up.
We can go talk to him about it.
What I asked you to come here to do was express your concerns.
What I find odd is that you've talked to these cops, but you didn't bring up the subject. Mm-hmm. You didn't bring it up. Why?
I asked you to bring up your concerns.
I thought you were so interested in this institutionalized racism stuff.
No, I was interested in hearing your concerns. I came here to hear your concerns, and we've been talking for an hour.
But you don't agree with my concerns. You just don't agree with them, and so that's
not all
the
of
thing.
them. I mean, it's not like I'm here and I'm combative. It's just I wanted to come hear your concerns. We've talked for an hour. I've listened to your concerns for an hour. I don't agree with all of them.
And that's perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. Now with WOWO, you guys do have all white hosts and mostly male. Not all male because you have Kim Commando on today. But it's mainly white males, conservative, capitalist, Christian, Republican. And then with this Christianity, I don't understand it. So militaristic. And then Donald Trump on his third wife, Newt Gingrich on his third wife, all this junk. Roger Ailes just a pervert. But, you guys look past that. You always look past it. And so I realize with WOWO, well, your business model is right-wing information. Just like with Roger Ailes and Fox. They have Fox TV, which is extreme left-wing. Extreme. They got Family Guy, where they openly promote bestiality. The dog, he has sex with women on the show. Mm-hmm. Brian the dog, that's just the tip of the iceberg with the left-wing programming on Fox TV. But then somehow right-wing Fox is just so conservative.
You heard me. I mean, you listen to the show, and I tell you that I kind of reject a lot of the different messages that come out on this program. I don't like any of it, really. And
come out of what program?
Well, when I talk about Hollywood, it's not just movies. I talk about television programs too.
Right.
And you've heard me fill in. I just reject the messages that a lot of these people are putting out there. I feel like most of the things I watch now, I just get. It doesn't entertain me anymore. There's not much that entertains.
Now, don't you find it sort of a paradox with Fox having this right-wing news operation, but then their entertainment is extreme left-wing? I mean, look at their programming on their television program. They have Lucifer.
Yeah,
that's a
no,
show.
I can't defend these, and I'm against all those messages.
Well,
really,
how does Fox get away with it particularly? How do they get away with that? Being right-wing news, but then you go right across the hall, it's all this left-wing stuff.
And I don't think it's just some of the programming they offer on different channels. It's when they're trying to figure out the programming that they're offering, they're driven by, the network, Fox TV, they're driven by a different thing than the cable network. It's different. They're ran by different people, and different people make the different decisions.
And see, what I find, like with WOWO and with Fox, well, this right-wing pull is just business. If there was more business if Air America had actually taken off, WOWO might be Air America if there was more money in it. They would. So with Fox News, well, these guys in the 90s, they just saw the angle. They're like, wow, these right-wingers just not being served. Just not being served. So they bring it out. It's obviously slanted. You got Sean Hannity openly endorsing Donald Trump, and then saying he's then appearing in a campaign ad, and it's like, well, wait a minute, Fox News, stop calling yourself Fox News, call yourselves Fox Opinion, because that's with them. At least they're doing more news. With WOWO, at least you guys call yourself News Talk. Because if you call yourself WOWO News, I would say, no, not fair. But News Talk,
altogether,
yeah, you guys are talking about news. You're talking about it because you're not producing that much.
Yeah.
Now, with this Wells Fargo stuff, I would say you need to look more into this Wells Fargo.
Yeah, and we did report on the Wells Fargo.
Right.
And I know you made a comment about it with Kayla doing it. Yeah.
Just make the call to Wells Fargo. They're not going to comment.
Yeah.
But you'll be the first station in town to actually call Wells Fargo. Now, how is it that Wells Fargo, all this stuff I've talked about them, how is it right now?
Yeah.
They have 5,300 employees that they fired for opening fake accounts. Now, Kayla calls them ghost accounts. I call them fraudulent.
Yeah, they are fraudulent. They are.
I call it identity theft. But somehow, 5,300 people engaged in identity theft. They get fired, but no mention of any criminals. But there was crime involved. These banks, Ryan, they get away with everything. You got Deutsche Bank right now facing a $14 billion fine from the feds. But then one of these former Federal Reserve presidents, going to say, well, the Fed could be putting criminal charges on these guys. They could be putting criminal charges on them. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If they could be putting criminal charges on them, why aren't they? These banks getting away with everything. Now, I'm just going to tell you about Wells Fargo because you need to be looking at it. You need to be looking at that, Ryan. Those mugs are a bunch of crooks. And so this institutionalized racism, fuck this stuff, talking about these cops about that stuff. Fuck that.
Please the language, if that's all right.
If you want to talk about institutionalized racism, talk about Wells Fargo. They've been found guilty of it. They've admitted it. They put out money for it. Wells Fargo bought Wachovia Bank, which laundered $378 billion. $378 billion of Mexican drug money. They settled all that in 2010, paying $160 million to the Treasury and the Department of Justice.
Are you saying this because you think we should report more on it, or
I'm saying you guys are looking at the little guys. Wells Fargo is a serial criminal.
Okay.
They're serial racists. They're serial drug money launderers. How is it they got to buy Wachovia Bank? How is it they get to pay $160 million to make a criminal case of $378 billion of drug money laundering go away? And you can just look up that figure. Wells Fargo, $378 billion.
So you think we should be reporting more heavily on this? Is why you're bringing it up?
I'm wondering, why don't you care about it?
Why don't I care about it?
Yes.
As a news story?
Yes, Wells Fargo.
So we have covered it as a news story, but you think we should cover it more. We should care more about it.
I'm asking
okay.
why.
Your point's taken.
I think it seems to be low priority for the media. Now, I know why it is. Because Wells Fargo is a major advertiser. I mean, right now,
Well-
you're WOWO. What's the name of your guys? The name of your studios at WOWO News Talk is the Windows, Doors, and More Studio.
Well-
Before that, it was the Tradewell Tax and Financial Studios. Before that, it was the Fort Wayne Acura Subaru newsroom. So how are we supposed to get any sort of objectivity when you will name your news studio after an advertiser?
Studio sponsorship?
Right.
Right, yeah. We have studio sponsorship.
And so I'm supposed to expect you guys to be objective news reporters?
So you're saying that...
How can you
how you guys doing?
How can you possibly be objective when you let sponsors buy out your studio?
Our studio, right? And it's not our newsroom, but our studio. No,
Right.
I understand. No, we have sponsors. I guess you could make that argument for anything when it comes to television because they sell advertising.
Right.
So you might think there could be a bias based on an advertiser when it comes to any news organization.
Well, okay,
I understand. Your point's taken.
Look at MedTech, Brown Mackey College, and ITT.
Yeah,
all three of those colleges going down, right?
Yeah, your point's taken. I
These
understand
mugs
what
caught
you're
up in
saying.
all this fraud. Those mugs had TV ads running everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's Sean T.
Well,
But it used to be these colleges,
yeah,
but nobody talking about State Attorney Greg Zoller mentioning deceptive advertising, talking about Brown Mackey College. Greg Zoller says deceptive advertising. Well, how did we see those deceptive ads? Well, Wayne TV, WFFT, all these TV stations, your partners in news, WFFT, or your partners in news, WPTA.
So you're saying they ran
Those
advertisements?
guys were running ads for MedTech,
Right.
Brown Mackey College, ITT.
Yeah.
Greg Zoller says Brown Mackey College, particularly involved in deceptive advertising. All these mugs involved in illegal recruiting tactics, but these TV stations not talking about the state attorney, talking about deceptive advertising.
Yeah.
But they were running the deceptive advertising, and when you look at Wells Fargo, they underwrite all this kind of stuff on PBS, all these ads on TV, and so, well, Wells Fargo, that's why we can't get any rational news on you. You mugs advertising everywhere, throwing on all this money, just like these for-profit colleges. Now they're going belly up, and you guys talking about, well, here's what you students can do. But why aren't you talking about Kevin Mulvaney of ITT?
Yeah,
Why aren't you talking about the illegal loan scams that they set up at ITT? Kevin Mulvaney, ITT, that's Carmel, Indiana. But it takes Dean Robinson to talk about Kevin Mulvaney, ITT, even though Kevin Mulvaney, ITT, was appearing in the very TV ads being run by local TV. And so I realize you mugs are influenced by these advertisers. That's why we can't get the truth. So you got my take on it. I would say, man, if you want to start looking at some real stuff, looking at these banks, but Jim Allgaier's not going to let you do that. He's not going to let you. They're not going to let you talk about these colleges the way it should be. Now, did you watch my video about these for-profit colleges?
I saw it because you tagged all the TV stations in them.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to have a conversation and talk to you anytime you like to. I hope you understand that. Some of the things you said, I don't want you to think I'm trying to duck you or anything like that. I think it's good to have these things.
And again, I've told you, like with WOWO and your take on race, it's clumsy and it's openly one-sided. I mean, I don't see how you can deny that. And you have mainly white men, and Pat Miller, the white man in Fort Wayne, he's the voice on this. Now, again, he does allow me on there, which I find absolutely hilarious. Even the other day, he's like, Dean, I'm not mad at you. I'm just tired of you. Now, Ryan, you got to tell him to stop saying stuff like that, because I absolutely love that.
That's funny, though, isn't it?
And so with me and Pat, I realize it's good radio. And so that's why you guys should allow me on. And that's why when I come on, I just say Dean in Fort Wayne. I don't say Summit City Noise. I don't say Robinson.
Yeah.
Because I'm not there to plug.
Yeah.
I'm there to discuss these issues. And that's it. Now, Pat doesn't like it because I do my homework.
Why don't you call in when I fill in?
You want me to?
You should. Yeah, you should.
All right, I will.
You know what? If there's something that I say that you take exception to and you hear me filling in, call in. I'd encourage you to do
I've
that.
just been being nice to you. All right.